In the glitzy world of daytime television, where drama unfolds in scripted scenes and carefully choreographed moments, Galen Gering is a household name. Known for his captivating portrayal of Rafe Hernandez on Days of Our Lives, Gering has won the hearts of millions with his charm, talent, and rugged good looks. But beneath the polished exterior of this soap opera star lies a story so harrowing, so pulse-poundingly real, that it could have been ripped from the pages of a Hollywood thriller. Recently, Gering shared this chilling tale on TV Days Drama Digest, recounting an incident from his youth that nearly cost him his life, an encounter that unfolded in a remote Tunisian village when he was just 18 years old. What began as a routine modeling gig spiraled into a nightmare of anti-American hostility, mob violence, and a desperate fight for survival. It was the late 1980s, a time when Galen Gering was not yet the seasoned actor fans adore today. At 18, he was a fresh-faced model, eager to make his mark in the competitive world of fashion. His career had taken him far from his hometown of Los Angeles to exotic locales, where he posed for photographers against stunning backdrops. On this particular assignment, Gering found himself in a small, sun-scorched village in Tunisia, a North African nation bordered by the Mediterranean Sea and steeped in a rich tapestry of history and culture. The shoot was meant to capture the raw beauty of the region, its dusty streets, vibrant markets, and ancient architecture. For a young man from California, it was an adventure, a chance to see the world and build his portfolio. The village was quaint, with narrow alleys winding between whitewashed buildings and the air thick with the scent of spices and freshly baked bread. The crew, a mix of local and international talent, set up their equipment in the heart of the village, drawing curious glances from passers-by. Gering, with his all-American looks and easy smile, stood out among the locals. As he posed for the camera, he felt the weight of their stares, a mix of curiosity and something harder to define. It was a feeling that would soon turn into dread. The incident began innocently enough. During a break in filming, a local man approached Gering. His demeanor was casual, his tone conversational. "Where are you from?" he asked, his English heavily accented but clear. Gering, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface, answered truthfully, "Los Angeles." The man's eyes narrowed slightly, and he pressed further. "Los Angeles? Where is that?" Gering, still smiling, confirmed, "Yeah, Los Angeles, in America." The change was instantaneous. The man's face contorted with rage, his voice rising to a fevered pitch. "America!" he screamed, his words slicing through the humid air like a blade. "We hate America. We kill Americans." Gering froze, his mind struggling to process the sudden shift. What had been a simple exchange had morphed into something sinister, something dangerous. The man's shouts drew attention, and within moments, a crowd began to gather. Faces that had moments ago seemed curious now twisted with anger, their voices joining in a cacophony of hostility. Gering, barely out of his teens, stood rooted to the spot, his heart pounding in his chest. He had heard stories of anti-American sentiment in certain parts of the world, but nothing could have prepared him for this. The crowd swelled, their chants growing louder, more menacing. Pots and pans clanged, a makeshift war cry that sent shivers down his spine. "Kill! Kill!" they shouted, their words a chilling promise of violence. Gering's mind raced, flashing to the worst-case scenarios he'd heard whispered about in the modeling world, tales of travelers drugged, kidnapped, or sold into slavery. "Oh my God," he thought, his breath catching in his throat. "This is it. This is how it happens." The situation escalated with terrifying speed. The crowd, now numbering in the dozens, pressed closer, their anger feeding off one another like a wildfire. Gering described the scene as a hornet's nest, a mob mentality that stripped away reason and replaced it with raw, unbridled fury. The crew, sensing the danger, scrambled to pack up their equipment, their movements frantic. But for Gering, there was no easy escape. He was the focal point of the crowd's rage, a symbol of the country they despised. The timing of the incident added fuel to the fire. It was around the period when the United States had been implicated in the death of one of Muammar Gaddafi's sons in a bombing in Libya, Tunisia's neighbor to the east. The event had inflamed anti-American sentiment across the region, turning foreigners into targets for pent-up frustration and grief. Gering, an 18-year-old model with no knowledge of geopolitics, was caught in the crosshairs of a conflict he didn't understand. As the crowd closed in, Gering's survival instincts kicked in. He scanned the chaos for an ally, a lifeline. That's when he noticed a man gesturing urgently toward him. He was short, stout, with a sheen of sweat on his brow and a look of determination in his eyes. "Come on," the man shouted, beckoning Gering. "Come with me. Hurry." With no time to weigh his options, Gering made a split-second decision to trust the stranger. He bolted toward him, dodging outstretched hands and sidestepping the encroaching mob. The man led Gering through a labyrinth of alleys, their footsteps echoing against the ancient stone walls. The crowd's shouts faded behind them, but the threat was far from over. Gering's mind was a whirlwind of fear and adrenaline, every shadow a potential danger. The man, whom Gering later referred to as the short guy, moved with purpose, his urgency infectious. "Lie down," he instructed, pointing to a corner of a dimly lit room they'd entered. Gering complied without hesitation, dropping to the ground as the man threw a pile of heavy, intricately woven rugs over him. Huddled beneath the rugs, Gering struggled to control his breathing. The coarse fabric pressed against his face, the air hot and stifling. The weight of the rugs was suffocating, but it was a small price to pay for safety. For what felt like an eternity, he lay there, his senses heightened, listening for the distant shout or the sound of approaching footsteps. His thoughts spiraled. Would the crowd find him? Was this man truly helping him, or had he been a ruse to trap him? The uncertainty was maddening, each passing second stretching into eternity. After what Gering later estimated was about 15 minutes, the man returned. He pulled Gering from beneath the rugs and led him through a hidden passage at the back of the building. The narrow corridor was barely wide enough for them to pass single file, its walls damp and crumbling. They emerged into the night air, the village now eerily quiet, the mob's clamor replaced by the chirping of crickets. Gering's rescuer didn't linger to explain. "Go," he said simply, pointing toward a distant road where a vehicle waited. Gering nodded, his throat too constricted with emotion to speak, and ran. The ordeal, however, was far from over. When Gering reunited with the crew, he was met with cold indifference, even hostility. The team, shaken by the incident, turned their backs on him, refusing to meet his gaze. When he asked what had happened, why the situation had spiraled so catastrophically, he was met with a chilling response. "This is not good. You will get in trouble for this." The word stung, a slap in the face to a young man who had just escaped a mob's wrath. The crew, it seemed, was more concerned with their own safety and the project's reputation than with Gering's well-being. Worse still, they declared they would no longer work with him. Gering, still reeling from the trauma, was stunned. He had been the victim, a target of unprovoked hatred, yet he was now being treated as the pariah. The betrayal cut deep, a wound that in moments of crisis, self-preservation could trump loyalty. With no choice but to comply, Gering and his team were forced to flee further, putting as much distance as possible between themselves and the village. They traveled to a remote location, far from the simmering tensions of the region, where Gering could finally breathe, if only for a moment. The incident in Tunisia left an indelible mark on Galen Gering. What had begun as a glamorous modeling job had become a stark reminder of the world's unpredictability and the fragility of safety. The memory of those terrifying minutes, of the crowd screams, the clang of pots, the suffocating weight of the rugs, remained etched in his psyche, a story he would carry with him for decades. It was a tale he shared with Maurice Bernard, his voice tinged with the weight of someone who had stared death in the face and lived to tell it. For Gering, the experience was more than just a brush with danger, it was a crash course in survival. It taught him resilience, a quality that would later channel into his acting career. The role of Rafe Hernandez, a tough yet compassionate detective, required a depth of emotion and grit that Gering could draw upon, perhaps in part because he had faced real fear and emerged stronger. His ability to convey vulnerability and strength in equal measure has made him a fan favorite on Days of Our Lives, where he has portrayed Rafe since the 2008, with a brief hiatus recently that had fans clamoring for his return. Reflecting on the incident years later, Gering's recounting was filled with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. "I was 18, he said, shaking his head. "I didn't even know what was happening. One minute I'm posing for a photo, the next I'm hiding under a pile of rugs, thinking I'm about to be sold or worse." His candor revealed the raw humanity behind the polished celebrity image, a man who's faced the kind of fear that reshapes one's perspective on life. The story also underscored the power of human kindness in the form of the mysterious Tunisian who risked his own safety to save Gering. Without his quick thinking and courage, the outcome could have been tragically different. Gering never learned the man's name, a fleeting savior whose act of bravery would forever be a part of his story. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of moments, there are those who choose to act, to help a stranger despite the cost. Today, Galen Gering is back on the set of Days of Our Lives, slipping effortlessly back into the role of Rafe Hernandez. Fans have welcomed his return with open arms, flooding social media with messages of excitement and relief. His journey, from a terrified teenager in a Tunisian village to a beloved soap opera star, is a testament to his talent and resilience and determination. The terrifying memory of that day in Tunisia may never fully leave him, but it has also become a part of the tapestry of his life. He is a story among many that shaped him into the man and actor he is today. It's a story of the fragility of safety, the power of courage, and the enduring strength it takes to rise above adversity. As Gering continues to light up the screen, his fans can take comfort in knowing that behind the glamour, there's a survivor. A man who's faced the mob and come out the other side, ready to tell his story. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe TV Days Drama Digest for more updates on Days of Our Lives.